Hey guys, I'm glad you're here. Today's project is this Poulan Pro mower with a swapped engine. The problem is that it was put up at the end of fall last year and now it won't start. We're going to try and figure out what's wrong and hopefully fix it. The engine was originally off a Murray mower and the deck had some serious issues. So the solution was to move that engine to another deck that had a bad engine. So if you're wondering why it says Murray on the engine cover and the deck says Poulan Pro, well, that's your answer. Well, that's enough history about this mower. Let's start diagnosing it. This type of carburetor has a primer bulb that sometimes cracks and doesn't return to its normal shape. And luckily this one seems to be moving just like it's supposed to, so we'll move on. We'll check the spark plug next, just to see if there's any problems there. It's rare for a spark plug to actually go bad, but it has happened before. Okay, so there's a lot of carbon buildup on the spark plug. So if everything else checks out, we're either going to clean this one or replace it. I'll put the plug back in and press the primer bulb a couple of times, and then we're going to try starting it. Well, it didn't start, so let's take off the air filter assembly and see if it's clogged up with dirt and preventing any air from going through the carburetor. Well, it looks clean, but it doesn't look as though it's been pre-oiled either. This type of filter isn't oiled, then a lot of dirt can get through it and ruin the rings and then cause a lot of oil burning. If we look inside the carburetor, we can see that it has some dirt inside the throat. Also, if we press the primer bulb, we can see a stream of gas being sprayed into the engine. Without this shot of gas, it's really tough to get this engine going when it's cold. Let's now check it for spark at the spark plug. I'm going to use an inline spark checker that you can buy online for about $5. You just need to install the checker inline and then pull the rope a couple of times. And after pulling the rope a couple of times, you can see the orange glow inside the tester, so we do have spark. Now let's check the gas in the gas tank. Be aware that the holes in the gas cap can let water or even just moisture into the tank. For storage, I would seal the tank off from seeing any moisture. It is a bit tough to see, so let's shine a flashlight into the tank and see if there's any problems. Okay, so here is a really big problem. The bubbles you see inside the tank are water bubbles. That means that the fuel tank has seen a lot of moisture while in storage. We need to get as much of the old gasoline and water out of the tank and see how bad it is. The gas has changed color just a little bit, but it's not enough to see the difference between the water at the bottom of the bowl. Let's pour some of it out, and then I'll adjust the camera so you can see it just a little bit better. The next thing to do is to allow everything in the tank to dry out. I'm not going to show you how I dried it out because there is a chance for fire and possibly an explosion, but I would suggest leaving the cap off and letting it dry naturally. It's going to take a long time for the tank to dry out, so let's take this opportunity and check the oil. Unfortunately, it's dirty and a little low. Letting your oil get this dirty and stay dirty can wear the piston rings out and the bearing surfaces as well on this type of engine. And since the gas tank is pretty much empty, it'll be easy to pour out the oil from the top and not worry about spilling any gas. Well, this isn't very promising. The oil has some metal in it. As it was coming out of the engine, it was a light shade of brown, then it turned almost black. It should have poured out in pretty much one shade and not two. Depending on how much and how long you mow your lawn for, I would change the oil twice a season. Right at the beginning of the season and then in the middle of the season. Some would say that's overkill, but 2 oil changes a year for this mower is around 40 ounces. Depending upon on what oil you use, that would be around $5 to $10. Because of the dirty oil we saw coming out of this engine, I'm afraid even if we get this engine going, it'll be running on borrowed time. Replace the oil and make sure the oil level is correct. Not that it matters on this engine, but it's still good practice. Let's replace the air filter assembly and put some gas in the tank, and then we're going to try starting this thing. Hopefully there's not a lot of rod knock. Well, the good news is it's running now since we removed the water and added fresh gas into the tank. The bad news is that it has light rod knock and it's burning oil. Most of this can be explained by very poor maintenance and bad storage. So my question is, how often do you change your oil in your mower? Or does that matter to you at all? I mean, it's just a lawnmower and not a car. I'd like to hear what you have to say.
Thank you for watching. I really appreciate your time. Please feel free to ask any questions, and I hope to see you in my next video.